Two families, two kids, same starting line, and by the time they're adults, one of them owns the game and the other one is still asking for permission to play it. Meet Ethan. 8 years old, standing in his father's home office, staring at a whiteboard covered in numbers his dad calls the quarter. His father isn't a hedge fund manager. He's not a Wall Street shark. He owns 3 laundromats in a town most people have never heard of. But tonight, he's doing something most parents would never do. He's handing Ethan $200 in cash and saying, "This is yours. Lose it if you want. I don't care. Just tell me what you learned." $200 to an 8-year-old. No strings. Across town, there's another kid. Same age, same grade. His name is Marcus, and his parents work just as hard, maybe harder. His mom's a nurse, double shifts most weeks. His dad drives for a delivery service on the side. And that same night, Marcus asks his mother for $5 to buy a pack of trading cards from a kid at school who's reselling them for double what they're worth. His mother says no, not because she's cruel, not because she doesn't love him. She says no because $5 is $5, and in her house, every dollar has already been spent in her head before it even lands in her hand. "We don't gamble with money," she tells him. "We save it. We don't take chances." 2 kids, 2 lessons, and neither one of them will remember the exact words, but both of them will carry the feeling for the rest of their lives. Here's what nobody tells you about wealth. It's not about the size of the paycheck. It's not about the neighborhood, the car, the private school tuition. Wealth, real, generational, self-sustaining wealth, is built on a single invisible skill that almost nobody teaches on purpose. And it's this: knowing how to lose money on purpose so you can learn how to make it on purpose. Rich parents statistically do this without even realizing it's a strategy. They let their kids fail small so they never have to fail big. They hand over the $200 knowing it might vanish on a bad lemonade stand or a video game scam because the $200 was never the point. The lesson was the point. Poor parents, through no fault of their own, do the opposite. They protect, they shield, they say no to the $5 because saying yes and losing seems unthinkable when there's no cushion underneath you. And that single difference, risk versus safety, quietly decides who ends up owning assets and who ends up trading hours for a paycheck for the next 50 years. 10 years later, Ethan is 18. He's sitting in a community college parking lot, in a car he bought himself with money from flipping sneakers he learned to source in 9th grade. He didn't get into a fancy university, his grades were average, but he's already lost $4,000 on a business that failed, an online store selling phone cases that nobody wanted. And he shrugs it off the way most people shrug off a bad haircut. "I'll just try something else," he says. That sentence, that single quiet sentence, is worth more than any degree hanging on a wall. Because Ethan isn't afraid of losing. Losing, to him, is just tuition. Nobody had to tell him that. He'd been losing small amounts on purpose since he was 8, and every single time, his father asked the same 2 questions. What happened? What will you do differently? Never, how could you be so stupid? Never, we can't afford this. Just 2 calm questions, over and over, until failure stopped feeling like danger and started feeling like data. Marcus, meanwhile, is 18 too. He got into a good state school, a real accomplishment, the pride of his entire family. He's got a partial scholarship and a part-time job at a grocery store to cover the rest. He's disciplined. He's responsible. He's never missed a single bill, never bounced a check, never taken on debt he couldn't explain line by line. And yet, when a friend brings up investing spare cash into a small index fund, Marcus feels his stomach tighten. What if it drops? What if I lose it? What if I need that money and it's gone? He's not wrong to think this way. He was raised by people who had every reason to think this way too. When you grow up one emergency away from real trouble, safe isn't a preference, it's survival. But here's the trap nobody warns you about. The same caution that keeps a family from going under in a crisis is the exact same caution that keeps that family from ever building anything beyond the crisis. Marcus will graduate with less debt than most of his classmates. He'll get a stable job. He'll do everything right. And 20 years from now, he'll still be trading hours for dollars, while Ethan, who failed at 3 different businesses before he turned 25, will own a small chain of car detailing shops he built from the ashes of those failures. Because somewhere along the way, failing stopped being the enemy. The gap was never about the $200 or the $5. It was about what happened the moment the money disappeared. By 30, the gap isn't a gap anymore. It's a canyon. Ethan is 31 now. He doesn't look like what people picture when they hear the word entrepreneur. No suit, no flashy car in the driveway of some mansion. He drives a used truck. He still answers his own phone when a customer calls with a complaint. But behind the ordinary exterior, something extraordinary has quietly happened. He owns 4 detailing shops, employs 18 people, and last year, for the first time, he made more money from the business running without him than he did from the hours he personally worked. That's the part almost nobody talks about. It's not that Ethan got lucky or found some secret formula. It's that he kept taking calculated risks long after most people his age had stopped. Every failed venture in his 20s wasn't wasted time. It was a rehearsal. By the time the real opportunity showed up, he already knew how to read a lease agreement, how to negotiate with a supplier, how to fire someone kindly but firmly, how to survive a slow month without panicking. None of that came from a textbook. It came from losing over and over in front of a father who never once made him feel like losing was the end of the story. Marcus at 31 is doing well too, by every conventional measure. He's a project coordinator at a logistics company, married, a toddler at home, a modest house with a mortgage he pays on time every single month. He's respected at work. He's never been in real financial danger, and if you asked him, he'd tell you he's satisfied. But there's a quiet ceiling above him that he can feel and can't quite name. Every time an opportunity comes up, a coworker mentions starting a side consulting gig, a friend suggests investing in a rental property together. Marcus runs the numbers, feels the old tightness in his chest, and says the same word his mother taught him without ever meaning to. Maybe later. Later never comes, not because Marcus lacks intelligence or ambition, but because somewhere deep in his nervous system, risk still means danger, and danger still means the family goes under. This is the part that should make every parent sit up straight. It's not that poor families don't love their kids enough to want more for them. It's the opposite. They love them so much, they protect them from the very experience, controlled small-scale failure, that would have taught them how to eventually build something bigger. Meanwhile, rich families, often without any grand strategy, hand their kids exactly that experience, early and often, wrapped in enough safety that failure never becomes catastrophe. The money was never the real inheritance. The permission to fail small was. So what do you actually do with this if you're a parent standing right now in that same fork in the road? You don't need $200 burning a hole in your kid's pocket. You don't need to own 3 laundromats or read the Wall Street Journal every morning. What you need is smaller than that and harder than that. You need to change the 2 sentences you say most often when your child comes to you with something risky. Instead of, "We can't afford to lose that," try asking, "What's the worst that happens if this goes wrong, and can we survive it?" 9 times out of 10, the honest answer is yes. A $5 trading card deal gone bad is not a crisis. A lemonade stand that loses $10 in supplies is not a crisis. But treated like one over and over across a childhood, it teaches a young brain that risk equals danger. And that lesson doesn't stay contained to lemonade stands. It follows that child into every job offer, every investment, every business idea for the next 40 years. Instead of stepping in to fix the mistake before it happens, let it happen, inside a size your family can absorb. Give a smaller amount of money than you're comfortable with, on purpose, and let your kid make a real decision with real consequences. Ask afterward, calmly, the same 2 questions Ethan's father asked. What happened? What would you do differently next time? Not, "I told you so," not a lecture, just curiosity. And here's the part that matters most for families who don't have the luxury of extra cash lying around. This isn't about money at all. It's about reframing what safety actually means. Real safety isn't avoiding every risk. Real safety is building a kid who knows how to recover from a loss, because a kid who's never lost anything small will be terrified the first time they lose something big. And by then, the stakes are a mortgage, a marriage, a career, not $5 in trading cards. Rich parents didn't hand their kids a head start made of cash. They handed them a head start made of nerve. The simple, transferable ability to try something, watch it fail, and try again without flinching. That's a lesson available to every parent, in every income bracket, starting tonight, with whatever small risk is sitting in front of your kid right now. The gap was never about who had more money to lose. It was about who was allowed to lose it in the first place.